Hey everyone, we are back, and this time, for the second episode, we have Emma Underwood right here with us from Spazar.
Hey
Emma.
guys,
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm great. This has been a fantastic voyage to get here.
You are the first guest on this podcast.
I'm delighted.
Yeah.
You need to feel honored.
I feel so honored.
I know I do.
So
Because you're here.
So tell us, Emma, tell us about your relationship with music. Give us like a summary of your entire life, like right now.
My entire life is music right now. Yeah, I love music. It really is my life if I have to be so bold. I play a lot of music. I play bass in Spazar. I'm working with other bands playing guitar. I have a studio at my house. I record my own stuff. I'm doing solo shows. And it's kind of the culmination of a number of years of trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm arriving. I know what the heck I'm doing now. But for me, like, music is what I lean into. It's both a social, communal, and kind of spiritual thing for me. It's really where I feel at home in this world.
Well, I know you're into community. You shared with me that you used to farm. So maybe share a little bit about how that blended into your music.
Yeah. So I farmed with my friends for about 12 years, like 8 years really solid, full time. And during that time, a big part of it was we would work all day. And then at the end of the night, we would always play music. So a number of us were musicians, so we'd have big jam sessions on our porch many times a week, definitely on the weekends every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It was, and it was this balance of having a job that I liked to do and being able to fulfill the music part of my life.
So you're not doing that anymore.
I'm not.
Okay.
I quote retired from
Quote,
farming
retired from farming.
2 years
Never
ago.
heard of that before.
Not many people do it.
Yeah. You're one of the successful ones.
What can I say?
I got out just in time.
Yeah. So maybe you could talk about the band. So Spazar, what do you like about Spazar?
Oh, what do I like about Spazar?
First of all, what is Spazar? What is the name?
What is
Where
Spazar?
did that come from? What's that about?
I don't know.
Just
I'm
came
just
from
kidding.
somewhere.
It just happened. I mean, sometimes the names just pop up and you're like,
Yeah.
this
So
just sounds good. Let's just do that.
It was 50% that. The other 50% is it's an Italian word, which isn't pronounced Spazar. That's just how we here in the States like to say it. I guess. I don't know. Maybe we just say it that way. But yeah, it means to sweep, but colloquially and used in its common form, could mean to annihilate, to decimate,
Dang.
to destroy,
It's like a warfare type
to
word.
sweep through.
Wow, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen them live, it is kind of like that.
That's what we were going for.
Yeah.
So the live show, it just like you pummel the audience and just wipe them away and like
With sweet tones and loud drums. Yeah.
And the drums are kind of the key because we have to play so loud because our drummer is so loud.
He's pretty loud.
It's pretty loud.
Jeff's got a nice he just got a nice John Bonham kit that he
The
picked
vintage
up.
Ludwig.
Yeah.
Ludwig.
Ludwig. Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing's beastly.
yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of tone nerds. And we've been doing this band for 7 years now, which is something that I really appreciate. I don't know that I've actually been in any other bands that have persisted consistently with the same lineup for 7 years.
That's pretty rare these days
Yeah.
to have a band that is the original members for so long. That is so kudos to that.
Yeah,
It's-
it's pretty special.
You like
Yeah.
the band, obviously. So what? Again, you're hitting on some points. But what's the favorite thing about the band for you?
The favorite thing about the band is when we're playing live, there's just this amazing connection that comes between us when we're all syncing together and when the audience is connecting with it. there's this push and pull, and a lot of like what we do is about that push and pull, even in our playing. And there's these moments when I'm playing that I just go somewhere else entirely. And I've never fully had that with any other band. So once I got a taste of that, even early on in Spazar, it was like, this is what I want to be doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great. It's a beautiful thing when you have that. Speaking of the live show, how would you describe the live show to me in more detail? Like, example, is there a lighting thing that happens? Is there like no talking and it's just music? How would you describe the live show?
Yeah. So every live show we try to do something different. And that is always a challenge for us, but it keeps us on our toes. Typically, we're very loud. We're a very loud band.
So bring earplugs.
Yeah.
We pass out earplugs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sweeping action.
That's so. Oh my God, that's great that the band passes out earplugs.
It's mandatory.
I don't know any.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a band like take these.
I think they're trying to avoid a lawsuit, to be honest
Something
with you.
like that.
Yeah, it's I can attest. We've had them here in the studio.
Sign a waiver.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
I mean, they warned us. They gave us fair warning. One of our engineers has lost hearing in his right ear completely. But,
What?
all for the team.
What?
Right.
Had to go there.
Oh man, that took me way too long to catch that one.
Yeah. So it's loud.
Yeah.
First and foremost, so it's a physical experience too. And we try to bring, I'm a performer. I bring a lot of energy to a stage, and I like to be all over the stage. I like to be in the crowd with people, and I like to get people to come up really close because I want it to be this. I don't want it to just be us on stage and the audience separate. And so a big part of our show is there's a lot of in between conversations where typically John and I will interact with the crowd and we'll try to make that connection. I've gotten really good at self-deprecating jokes that make people feel connected. Took a long time.
Well, that is a skill all unto itself.
Yeah.
Standing up there on the stage and
Because otherwise,
in
when
the
you
crowd, it's you got to have the jokes right.
and you got to be
Smooth.
very confident when you say them.
Oh yeah, especially
Otherwise-
your jokes, right?
They're very uncomfortable.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get the crowd into it. Like, give them a little bit of uncomfortableness. Just like, you're gonna feel this. You're gonna feel this right now.
So early on, when we decided what kind of style we were going to do, we didn't play a show for 2.5 years. Even though as soon as we started writing songs, we were pretty much ready to play. But we really wanted to know what our sound was before we went out and presented anything. And it took 2 years of really experimenting. So now a big part of that was we wanted that discomfort and relief to be very present in our live shows. And so there'll be long passages where we play something just a little too long for it to be comfortable. And then we'll suck it back and try to connect. There'll be a vocal part that then will bring everybody back in. And so that's built right into the music, but also built into the live sets. We do variations every time we play.
Well, you said you were tone nerds. There's some nerdiness going on in the studio. We're all about the nerd.
Yeah.
So I would agree. John has this crazy lineup of amps and heads from Dr. Z. You're all about the bass tone. One of the coolest bass tones I've ever heard. Probably the only other comparison I can draw to was Doug Pinnick's setup from King's X back.
King's X
from the day. But he had a cool setup, and I was like, man, Emma's got this killer. She's, it's very intentional what you're doing. So can you talk about the tones of Spazar?
I can talk about the tones.
Is this going to take up the rest of the podcast?
We'll keep it
right.
timed.
All right.
I didn't know Doug Pinnick's work until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
So 6-8 months ago, a year ago,
Yeah.
I don't know. And after listening to it, that's exactly what I'm going for, is this clean sound and this really distorted sound blended together.
Yeah.
And so it's taken me the 7 years to figure out how to do that. And so now I've kind of settled on a rig that in my mind is just perfect. Every time I play it, I'm like, this is just the best bass tone. So I always start with a P bass, of course, because that's just the rock and roll bass tone. But I run it's a 69 Sun 200S as my distortion channel. And then I run a GK 700 RB as my clean channel. And between those two, it's just painful. It just hurts, but it hurts so good.
It's so good.
They're just
As
so...
John Cougar Mellencamp once said.
I kind of like that. Like, it's almost a selling point for the live show, right? It's like, come experience the pain that is so good.
You'll love the pain.
Yeah, like that's the tagline. Spazar, you'll love the pain.
One band, much pain.
I'm almost, and John and I have been part of this show we're trying to really uncover, as is everybody. Don't be fooled. No one really knows what the fuck's going on right now in the music business.
Right,
they
right.
really don't. They a lot of people pretend they do and they don't.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
We agree. We agree.
So, this getting to like maybe you're like, to get a live show going, it's a movie trailer in that style, right?
Ooh.
And like maybe bands should just be marketing themselves like fucking feature films.
Well, I think we can take some cues from the movie industry, because they have one. They actually have an industry.
You're onto something, though.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm like,
let's try it.
love the pain, Spazar. Like,
I might go home and do this.
One band.
and the gas masks on the cover art.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's badass.
Creepy.
I'm going to that show. I
Yeah.
want to know what the fuck's going on at that
Oh, yeah.
show, right? Like, so yeah, this is fun. It's fun stuff.
Well, what about
Thank you.
John's setup?
So John's setup
John, by the way, is the most unassuming character I've ever met.
is the most punk rock guy.
Yeah,
But not in
he's-
the way you think.
No, he's legitimately cut from the cloth of classic punk rock, and just his guitar tone is amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, just to speak more about John, this is John North. He plays the guitar in Spazar, among other projects. But you'll always find him in a very nice button-up polo shirt. Maybe not a polo shirt, button-up shirt, ready to go to the office, even at the shows. That's what makes him so punk
No,
rock.
my favorite John North stage costume is a white wife beater T-shirt. Pretty much.
Ooh.
Yeah, he just
That's
wears
rare.
the white shirt.
Wow.
Yeah, it works, and he wears khakis.
Yeah.
Khakis and a white shirt. You wouldn't think it would work, but for some reason it works for this guy.
So then he gets out there, and it is just brutal. So John and I have been in bands together for 10 years now. Before Spazar, we were in another band called the Andersons, which was a folk band, which is totally a left turn from what we do, which is how Spazar started. We were playing just kind of as like the sidemen in this folk band. I was playing bass and he was on guitar, and we were like riffing behind the folk music. And they were like, this is cool, guys, but not the right style for the band. And so we ended up, after that band dissolved, we ended up starting Spazar. And since then, John's been a bit of a tone mentor for me. When I had met him, I had no idea. I was like,
Well, he's a teacher by trade.
yeah, he works in,
He works with kids. I mean, I think he's in a position where he's over a lot of kids. So I think
That's
it's like
true.
BOCES or something, right? He's a teacher. He worked with Leo to get her guitar stuff set up and help Hannah out. So
and he's just
he
an
likes doing it.
awesome guy.
Very, very gentle.
Yeah, so he started teaching me. I mean, I was like into punk rock, right? When we started playing, I had like a 112 bass amp and just turned it all the way up, and that was my tone. And he was like, this is cool, but there's more to it. So he kind of coached me along the way and found that son for me in a pawn shop in Cortland, actually. But in the meantime,
Sniffed it out.
he did. He's like, you got to come see this thing. And so anyway, he plays a couple Dr. Z's right now, but that's been a progression. Originally, he played with one Dr. Z, a Moz 18, so an 18-watt kind of Fender tone, hybrid tone, and he had an orange 8030, so we were getting that like English crunch and getting that clean American tone, and then he was just mixing it through a million pedals that just do all sorts of woo things, you know.
Oh, those things, yeah.
Yeah. They do woo things.
Well, we spent an entire day recording Helicopters, which we're going to put out this year with New Vine and Bizarre. They're a partnered artist with us, but the one thing, John's like, hey, do you mind if I come up like wicked early and spend almost the entire day finding the perfect tone?
Wow.
And I was like, sure. So he brings in these NA old Milwaukees, and we're just chugging those all day. And literally, I mean, inch by inch, row by row, we went through and found every possible variation of guitar tone with him. And then we're like, okay, finally we can record. But it was like, it was a nerd fest. It was a lot of fun.
I showed up like 5 hours after y'all started, and I was like, what'd you record? And you're like, nothing.
And it's been so good.
You're all real happy.
Oh,
I was like,
super happy.
what's going on?
no recording. Yeah. But man, we're playing with amps.
But you're having
and
fun.
microphones.
So eventually he's been upgrading. We kind of got louder and louder and louder and louder and a little bit louder. And so he's been stepping up, and he now runs a Dr. Z Remedy and is in the one channel, and a Dr. Z Therapy in the other channel. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with those amps, but they're like the nerd amps. So the Therapy is an American voiced amp with EL34s in it. So it has British tubes and an American voiced amp and vice versa. So it's this really weird, nerdy tone thing.
This is getting a bit too nerdy for me right now.
It's gone. Yeah.
Oh, this can go deep. This can go super deep.
Yeah, no,
Reel it in, guys.
I admire the passion about the deep dive into gear and everything.
We just lost half our audience.
But,
yeah.
you gotta steer the ship a little.
Sure.
And but it's actually an interesting point, because the gear stuff, you can go down that rabbit hole and you can really get into it. And I've always had a bit of a point of contention with it, because it's like, well, it's almost, it can be a means to an end.
Sure.
And before you know it, you're 3 days in, and like, what are you even listening for anymore? So I sort of, to balance it out, you know, and say like, it comes down to really the performance of it.
It really does.
That's kind of the big part. But that was what I loved about going back to the record. What's the official name? Is it just self-titled?
Just self-titled.
So going back to Spazar, the self-titled, oh my, like, what did I write? Rolling Blackouts was a standout track for me. And you mentioned, Emma, it was live, that you just got in the studio and you just played. And you can feel that on the recording.
It's raw.
It's got just, like, the drums are... Man, they crack right through. You can tell like there's not a whole ton of compression on the drums, at least from what I was hearing. That it's just like, it's really just, he's whacking the shit out of those drums.
Yeah, he is.
And
that's what Jeff does.
And it breathes too.
Yeah.
There's some breathability, and it's not to a click hardcore. Like, I don't know, did you record to a click? No, right? Yeah, it breathes. Man, yeah.
You don't know what's been going on behind the scenes at New Vine.
Moving on.
Clicks.
We could
click
take
tracks.
a side channel and maybe get some underground
We'll
material
come
later.
back to that.
Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, click tracks are a subject around here.
Yeah, I have. I have interesting things with click tracks as well.
Yeah. I think everybody has an opinion about click tracks.
Sure.
It's kind of like politics.
I just don't like robots telling me what to do all the time.
Sure.
You're a drummer, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He drums a little
I'll play
on the weekends.
I'll play to a click track if it's necessary, but I usually opt for trying to not have it if it's not absolutely needed. But anyways, so yeah, let's continue on. I was thinking maybe we'd play a tune at this point.
Yeah, let's listen to one.
I've got here Cleveland Torture, Rolling Blackouts, or Duck and Cover. So Emma, which one should we feature first?
I think.
Wait, let's pick a colored M&M out of there, and
you want to do it?
Determine by the color.
Okay.
We're casting lots here.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Here, I'll put a couple out here.
Don't look. Just reach
Well, I'm
out
just
and
gonna
grab
put a
them.
couple.
Well, how do I know where to reach?
Yeah, this is what we do.
We went with orange.
Okay, now we got to assign a color to
Yep.
each one.
Yeah, this is taking time.
You guys are fun.
Oh my god. All right, so here's
Okay, you got it in your head?
orange is Cleveland Torture, blue
look,
is
don't
Rolling
look.
Blackouts, and green is Duck and Cover. And then mixing them around. I forgot what I assigned the colors to, so
All right. Emma, reach and grab.
just
Reach and grab.
Just pick one.
There you go.
That one.
Orange. Okay.
All right.
What was that one? Cleveland Torture.
That's what it was.
And it was delicious.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. So this is Cleveland Torture by Spazar. So Emma, tell us about this song.
So Cleveland Torture was one of our early songs, as you can maybe tell by the name. Doesn't have the most concise name.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were going for this really brutal sound, and I wanted to write some lyrics that captured that. And this was around the time that there was a lot of stuff going on in Cleveland where this man had kidnapped people, and I loosely based the concept off of that, just very loosely.
Wow.
And so then we named it Very On the Nose.
Okay.
What's this song about?
Cleveland Torture.
But so as far as the performance goes, it's probably my least favorite song on the album, because I really loved the song, but the way we performed it, we had recorded it. It was on our third day of recording. We did full days in the studio, and this was at the very end. We're like, let's get it in, and it's at a slightly slower tempo than we normally play it live. At the key point, though, is on all the choruses, I scream it the entire time live. It's like blood-curdling death metal screams.
Oh my.
And that is not on the album, as you may have noticed.
Right.
We didn't have time for that, and my voice was shot at the end of the day, so we didn't get it, and we only had 3 days to do the whole album. So it's like one of those things I wish I had done,
Yeah.
but I didn't.
Okay.
And I can live with it, but
Yeah.
So a lot of this business is learning to live with this
Imperfection.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just the decisions, the choices. It's a lot of it's out of your control.
That's the thing I love about albums, though, because they're snapshots. It's like a portfolio of that time. It's an archive, you know, and it's just you remember all of those things when you listen back. It draws up memories and also the mistakes. And wow, I don't do that anymore. Whoa, I wish I still did do that. You know, I forgot I did that. So yeah,
I think that's kind of the great thing about being in a band that is, you know, a functional band, right? I think, and that's something that a lot of the longer bands are together, and the longer they can stay together, they have a lot more going for them because you build up that back catalog, and you build all those experiences and all those stories. And this is kind of getting to the whole building value thing that is a running theme for this podcast, is that to build value, you got to build memories, you got to build experiences, you got to build that catalog. And if somebody who's never heard of your band finds you and sees that you've been doing this for 7 years and you've got all this material and you've been sharing stories with them, you know, maybe like blogging is such a thing now because people want that whole experience. What is this community? What are these guys about? What are they
want
doing?
the inside track.
Yeah. And I think it used to be back before the internet was really what it is today. You had a lot more mystery surrounding bands.
I got to be honest, I kind of like that better.
It was definitely
I like the distance between the people on the stage and being a patron, watching, listening, because that mystery kind of it's intriguing. I want to know more instead of the whole thing laid out on social media. It just feels a little I don't know.
It's changed.
I've actually not liked artists after getting to know them. You know, it's like
that's kind of.
I used to like you.
Yeah,
you
bastard.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's kind of true.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So, just one quick question. So, you know how you do an album and you work on it so much and you hear it a million times and then you step back, you know, and you're very unhappy with certain things. That's almost every album I've ever worked on. And then you hear it 6 months later and you're like, oh, I actually really like that. So was Cleveland Torture like that for you? You said you didn't really enjoy the song. Was it still glaring to you?
Yeah, it's still glaring to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, the way we do it live,
yeah, it's
when I
different.
say I'm screaming blood-curdling screams,
Yeah.
it carries the entire song. So it's almost like it's an entirely different song
Gotcha.
than how we play it ever, which is fine, right? Like, when you come to the show, you get surprised.
Well, switching from Cleveland Torture, let's talk a little bit about what music can do to our brains. It's in mental torture.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah. You've shared some stuff with me. We're friends. We have coffee. We talk. And you're on a journey. I think all of us are in music, in our minds. It's a pretty demanding. It's a vice grip. You put yourself out there. You put all this energy into something, and you lay awake at night thinking about stuff, or it's just consuming. So I was wondering if you could comment on your mental health journey in music.
Oh, goody.
We got a big segment coming here.
Now we're in the deep segment.
Well, I feel like artists, we all think about it. It's not something you put out there when you're hanging in the green room. It's like, hey man, it's not like a talk session with your therapist, or it shouldn't be.
Hey guys, I've been a little sad today.
Yeah, right before you hit the stage.
I mean, I don't share my personal stuff with anyone unless they're a random person on the street or I know you. So.
Well, your Facebook name is Emma Vulnerability, so I think it kind of speaks to you.
And my band project is Major Depressive Party.
There you go.
Oh,
there we go.
You wear it on the sleeve. You wear it on the sleeve.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just want to let you know I've been like really tormented lately. So
all that childhood trauma. It's just
it hangs with you though. It really does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
how does music affect you in that way?
So it's always been an expression for me as a way to deal with it. So I grew up in Ohio, and music was an escape for me from a lot of things growing up. And so I've always just written about it. When I started writing lyrics, when I started writing songs, it always contained like not extreme, but like very deep personal stuff. And I think mainly because when I was growing up, like Kurt Cobain songs really contained a lot of that. And that was he was a key songwriter in my mind when I was a teenager. That influenced me. And so it comes out a lot. Like, so even on Cleveland Torture, we're just talking about, like, if you look at it on the nose, it's kind of a song. The imagery is like these real world things, but it's not actually about that, right? There's subtext to it. And the subtext is actually, on most of these songs, are the things that I go through. And I have struggled with bipolar disorder my whole life. And it's the type that comes with like the major depressive disorder. And so I used to go these very long swings of not being able to do anything. Like I would go 2-3 months and not even be able to get out of bed. And fortunately, I've worked through a lot of that, and I don't have to deal with that as much anymore. But what would come with that would be these manic upswings. And this was before I knew I had a diagnosis for bipolar disorder. And so I'd have these manic upswings. So I'd have 2 or 3 months of just deep, dark depression. But then I would swing the other way, and I would write an album, 2 albums worth of material in like a month. And I would stay up all night long just writing and recording tapes. I recently found an old reel-to-reel I did, and it is fantastic.
cool.
I wouldn't let anyone listen to it, but ooh.
Well, that's interesting, because I was thinking more about how music can create mental strain, or art in general. But you're actually harnessing that stuff for your art, and that's really amazing. I'm sure it's pretty common. I mean, a lot of songwriters tend to be that way.
I'm exceptional, John.
Yeah. Except for
Yes.
you. You're the one that stands out from the pack. One. So, yeah, but do you go through, do you feel triggered in any way, like when you're releasing something? What's that process like for you? Do you feel not wanting to be vulnerable? Do you not want to hear your own stuff? Because I don't like hearing my own stuff after I put stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, on that topic, like when, like being in a band for 7 years brings up a lot of personal dynamics, and that does weigh on my mental health. I have a lot of coping mechanisms now to deal with that, but it gets stressful, right? Being in a band can be very stressful, more than it probably should be sometimes. But as far as releasing stuff, I've really learned, in performing, I've really learned to let go of any self-judgment on it. And
that's good.
That's been a process. It's not very easy to do. and I have to like think about it before, like be conscious of it when I go into it. But yeah, before a show or before I release something new, I really have to just accept that what it is what it is, and it doesn't bear on whether I'm a good person or not. It doesn't affect my self-esteem anymore, in theory.
Right. Well, that's like, it's to like, why do you do it, right? Like it runs the gamut. You've got bands that, for example, a band I used to be in was put together by this entrepreneur guy, and so like the band was run like a corporate structure. So each band member had a separate contract with this entrepreneur. It was not the whole band getting picked up as one entity. So that in and of itself really laid the groundwork for the kind of band it would be and how the dynamics would function. So that's, then you have the more organic thing which is, well, I don't know what's more common. I feel like the people kind of just getting together and wanting to make music together might be more common.
Sure.
And so, yeah. And so that's the more organic approach, right? So you have all these different dynamics, and it can be a stressor for sure.
Socially, yeah. I mean, it's like I've heard it described, and I've experienced this. Bands are kind of like a awkward marriage. I mean, it's
with multiple people. It's polygamy without actually, ve some bands do that, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, Fleetwood Mac and all that.
Right. Yeah.
I've struggled socially. It's been something in my whole life. I mean, I have to be very careful about how I perceive things, and the community and the band aspects tend to trigger those things. And I feel, however, I've run into some people in the last couple of years who have helped me kind of calm that down by not taking things so seriously. It's you do take your craft seriously, but I think self-perception is a key thing, and not being judged so hard on yourself or being judgmental of yourself or even others. I find that I like that better because I feel like I'm actually present to hear other people's music. I used to not be able to listen to other people's music. That's how insanely narcissistic I was at the time. It's like,
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wow, that's good. There's a whole thing here I missed,
Well, that brings up a question that I have for you, Emma, about, and to our listeners, I feel like they would be interested to know, what are some routines, what are some like structures that the band has in place to ensure that there's productivity? Because I think that's really important, the systems that you set in place for yourself as a band to allow you to be moving forward. So if you would speak on that for a bit.
Yeah, totally. And that's something that with Spazar, we've met, with a few exceptions, every week on a Tuesday for the last 6 years. And prior to that, we were doing 2 days a week rehearsing just to figure out what we were doing. And it took a lot of commitment. Jeff and I both have families. Jeff plays drums. I think we mentioned that. We both have families, and it's taken a lot to commit. Even just 1 day a week, we rarely miss a Tuesday night where we are, above all else, we are showing up and playing for 3 hours, and we can count on that. And, things do come and go, and things happen, but it's been consistent. And I think more than anything else, consistently meeting once a week has done more for us in our friendships, in our band dynamics. It's let us become very good friends. Like, we're much more than a band now. We're very close with one another.
How much of that is performing versus talking about next steps and like going over housekeeping? Like, what would the ratio be, would you say?
It is skewed in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Okay.
If you're listening, Jeff, if you're listening, John.
Listen up, guys. Emma's got something to say.
Pay attention.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So
I feel set up.
this is
Actually, Jeff's right around the corner.
Yeah, right. There he is. Bring him in. No, this is
John
good
over there?
This is good to hear. You got to get it out there. Like, what but I'm curious. I'm just curious to know what that ratio is. Like,
Yeah. COVID threw things off for everybody.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we were just playing. We didn't have any, like for the last year and a half, we didn't really have many big picture things going on. It was, let's maintain being a band through this so that when we can start doing shows again, we're ready, and we'll see who's still standing when we get back. Because before COVID, we were part of a pretty vibrant live music scene with Ithaca Underground and doing stuff with JT, whose production company I can't remember the name of right now. But so for a long time, we're kind of shifting gears from just performing and just writing. We spent a lot of time writing over the last year and to figuring out, like, okay, what are our next steps? And part of that is working with New Vine. We have this song we've recorded this summer. We're going to do a video for it. And so that's a step. It took a lot of planning to get in agreement on how we were going to do that. If I had to say a ratio right now, I'd say 75% of the time we're performing and 25% of the time we are working both on band dynamics as well as band business.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because that number could, some like 50-50 is probably really difficult to obtain. And some guys just want to play. And then other people could say like, we actually, like, where are we going?
Right.
So yeah.
We've always had a really good consensus on where what we're doing. And for us, we're a live band. We've always been a live band. And so we decided early on, how are we going to do this? And so now we're figuring out how do we record this stuff and get it to capture what we want to do? And how does that plug in with our live shows? And so
I think we found a good place. It was a lot of discussion, as you said. And I loved working with a band that way. That's the thing I think New Vine offers that a lot of other groups don't, is we're willing to not push into the band. We want to find out what makes them work and work with them. And I think that needed to happen for this. So
I agree.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, and I think we're much better for it as a group, getting through all that. And I think working with New Vine it's just been fun. We've had a lot of fun.
We have. All those non-alcoholic Milwaukee Bests.
Yeah.
That's what I give credit to.
O'Douls.
Yeah. Oh, these are better.
You guys,
These are better.
I'm the only one that doesn't drink alcohol, and y'all are insane. Like, I wouldn't touch that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker myself. I have a drink here and there, but it's not very frequent.
I don't suggest Milwaukee NA.
The Beast.
If you do,
The Beast.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
It's the champagne of NA.
Yeah. So, I'd love to hear another song. We listened to Cleveland Torture. The other two songs I have here, we'll pick one: Rolling Blackouts or Duck and Cover. What do you think, Emma? Which one?
Rolling Blackouts.
Rolling
Sweet.
Blackouts. All right, let's pump
go.
it. Let's do it.
The Blue M&M.
Yeah.
I need to say goodbye. The state of your mind. What grief you find. Go blank or go blind. How you don't mind. by, it'll blink and go by. Now you know mine. I said, don't you be a stranger. I said, 'cause it's real. I said, don't you be a stranger. I said, 'cause it's real.
All right.
Heck.
That was the burly riffage happening.
I don't know if y'all caught my bass tone on that one. It's
It
my
was heavy.
favorite.
It was heavy.
So we're going to continue with a question that's a burning question that I like to ask. So where do you see Spazar going in the next year?
I would love to see Spazar after we release this single in this video. I would love to see us playing a little bit larger venues. And we've been working really hard at our live show. And now that we're going to be generating some content, I think that's our goal, is to start playing some bigger shows, maybe catch some opening spots with some bigger bands. I personally would love to tour. It's probably not in the cards in the next year for this band, just due to the family's situations. But I think playing a lot more, and then we want to be recording. We have a whole album ready to record, so
That's dope.
exciting,
That's
yeah.
dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will listen to that
There you go.
based on the self-titled. Like I would love to see where it goes on the next record. This will be the second record.
this will be the second.
It's gonna be baller.
Cool.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is kind of a wrench I'll throw in. What do you think about the landscape out there as far as how bands are discovered? What's your process for that, or thoughts on that? Digital streaming, all that jazz.
I took a deep dive
Yeah?
into this
Yeah,
last
did you
winter.
go to school for this? Kind of.
Kind of.
Ah,
Somewhat.
Okay.
I went to school for a lot of things.
drop some knowledge on us.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I took a deep dive into this, and social media is the key right now to getting people to know you exist. And there are strategies that are pretty well known. You used to have to go out to shows, play a show, and connect with somebody. If you see someone, you're like, oh, there's Joe who books shows. He was in the back. I'm going to go talk to him beforehand. Now with social media, people are doing that through social media. And there are these complex systems for how to game social media and get that attention. And I really jumped into it last winter just to see how it worked.
Interesting.
And it works. I made a lot of contacts that way, and some cool things opened up because of it. However, it also drove me totally insane. Like, we're talking like
Really?
generating content for every single day of the week.
Yeah.
And developing,
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah. That's why people get hired, like just to do
Just to do it.
Like right now, every band should. I think I've reached the conclusion that every band should have another member of the band that does not play in the music in the band, but that does the social media,
The media component.
you have to have it. You just have, you're going to drive yourself, like you said, you're going to drive yourself nuts trying to figure out why is this not updating here? Oh, what happened to the mailing list? Oh, like what happened to this? What happened to that? It's like, oh, why is this showing me this message here? Like, all these techie things that like, you got to have somebody who knows that stuff, because otherwise you're falling behind every day that your feed is not linked properly to this,
Right.
or you know, every day you're falling behind everything else. And so I really recommend that to all our listeners. Like, if you're in a band, find someone you trust who knows how to do this shit, so you don't have to take away from what you really should be doing, which is honing your craft, writing music, performing.
And that's what the role, you know, if we look back 10 years ago, maybe prior to Instagram, the early Facebook stuff, 12 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what year.
2008 was really.
Let's go with that.
What year is it?
2008.
We lost a couple there. But that was a manager's role, right? Like,
Right.
The manager would be talking to the promoters, talking to the record labels,
Yeah.
talking with people, connecting people. And that role has, in my opinion, I think it's been replaced by this system of social media.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, I want to get, that was a great idea. I'm going to get somebody to do that.
It'll open up, it just opens up your world as a band. Because now you can be like, now you've got someone. You don't have to like, it's
Right.
like, oh, how do we do this? Jimmy.
Jimmy, get on it, man.
Go to Jimmy. Because
Guy with the crazy fluffy hair.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be like, stand there, I'm going to take your picture. Stand there, I'm going to take your
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so, and then you're not, because it's hard to do, but it's extremely rare that somebody could do both of those things.
No, I agree. It takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of nuance, apparently.
My bandmates got used to it, but got really tired of me taking their picture every single time I saw them. Like,
Right.
no, stand over there. No. I'm like, drop a truth bomb. I want to write that down.
Drop a
exhausting.
truth bomb. Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Do it on cue.
So,
right now.
in a traditional sense, it's still about branding.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
It's
it's still
about pulling a
about
brand
that.
together. And
It's always been about that.
But I would say, and we've talked about this, what's most important isn't the millions, it's the hundreds that we're building. Because the hundreds will buy your t-shirt, the hundreds will show up at your show. The millions, they're fake. They're fake fans. So the true fan is what I think we are endeavoring to try to connect artists to today.
Yeah. And ultimately, once live shows are even more prevalent than they are now, that's a key part of that. We're doing, Spizar's doing shows again. And it really, there is still that organic part of it. After one of our shows, I went, there was this whole crowd of teenagers. And I was like, anyone that wants to dance, get up front. Don't let the dudes just standing there watching us take up the front. Get up here. And they were just going nuts.
I miss those shows.
They were going nuts. And
Mid
so,
2000s were great for that.
Right.
All sorts of great shows.
and so, and that's kind of what we're trying to cultivate at our shows. And so afterwards, I saw them standing there outside the venue, and I walked over and I was like, hey guys, thanks so much for coming. And they're like, man, you want a cigarette? And I was like, I don't smoke. They're like, then why are you talking to us if you don't want something? Like, literally, why are you talking to us? And I was like, I am genuinely grateful that you came to my show.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they were
that's big.
so surprised.
That's big.
So, do you think it's both live and the social media component that we're drawing people into? Because some people think it's just really got to make that live connection, then draw them to your social or digital platform, or it's the other way around.
I don't think the live shows generate the attention.
Yeah,
I think you have to make those personal connections, or you're not like being authentic, right? Then you're just a brand in a sea of a million brands. But if you're just playing live shows and you don't have branding and you don't have social media content, you're not connecting with more people. Like, who's going to the Kava Bar on Friday night if they don't know that you're playing there?
That's the interesting shift
Yeah.
that we talk about, though, right? The shift from like when Sublime, I don't know why I'm thinking of Sublime, but Sublime was a pretty big deal back in their heyday. And fans just like, they would go see the show because it was Sublime and it was this like reggae punk sort of thing. And it just, they captured a cultural thing happening at that time. But fans, they did not need to have that personal connection to the singer on social media, or because it didn't exist, right? But it was just like, I just want to go here because like I like the people that are at this show. And I love the music, I love the culture, I love the vibe, and that was enough. But now it's not enough because it's so oversaturated. It's just an interesting shift that I've seen. Like, again, I go back to the band that I used to be in. It was a very we had a niche market, a niche audience, and our music resonated with more like conservative minded people in the political sense and that way of life. We were just like singing Star Spangled Banner and stuff like that. But we had that built in. They didn't need to know personal stuff about each band member. They just knew that they could go and feel like they had a voice. So actually, that's an interesting question. What do you think what would you say Spazar provides to fans of the band or to people that come to the live show? What are you providing for them? What value are you giving them? Or what value do you want to give them? So
I think what we're providing and our goal of providing is that personal interaction. When we're on stage and afterwards, because while, going back to the Sublime reference, yeah, we would go to venues and that was good enough. But afterwards, if they're a touring band and they're not on a major label, they would always be selling CDs out of the back of their car or off to the table at the side of Castaways, And I always was drawn to that. And I just wanted to be like, I loved your set. Can I get a CD? And so I think like that's something I always strived for. And I think it's true with Jeff and John too, is we want to be in the crowd. I always say when we play, I'm like, come talk to me. I want to talk to you. I want to know your name. I'm going to forget it, but I want to know your name. And I want to hear like, what did you think? Like, really, what did you really think? Did you enjoy it?
So you're being proactive in that.
And I want that. Like, I want that interaction with those teenagers. I want them to be like, Spazar is fun. Like, this is a fun show. Let's tell our friends, and we're going to come and make it a bigger, better show. Yeah. And I think in Ithaca, it's tricky because, especially with heavier music, there's not that many people here. There's not that many venues. And so unless you're playing an all ages show, you can't even get that crowd. So they won't know you exist. Right. And so a big part of our goal has always been to play all ages shows as much as possible. Right. And to like inspire younger artists.
Love that. That's awesome. So we're going to hit the last song.
Let's do it.
Before we do, can you give artists out there any kind of encouragement in their journey? Maybe some advice?
Yeah, my advice is no matter whether you're doing it on social media or at your shows, be real, like be authentic, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because where creativity comes from is that vulnerable place. And we're often too afraid to really show what's going on with us. And so that's my advice. Be real, be vulnerable.
That's good stuff. All right. We doing duck and cover?
Duck and cover.
Cover.
This is my favorite one on the album.
Best for last.
That's good, because I just picked the ones that stood out to me. So I'm glad that one of them is the one that you approved.
Got two of the three.
I got two of the three.
All right. So this is Duck and Cover by Spazar.
just like you dreamed.
Well, that was Duck and Cover. That was amazing. It was awesome. Thank you. We loved having you here, Emma, and Fish and I are honored. And we are going to be hopefully hearing a new album in the next year or two from you. And you're going to be playing around the Ithaca area. You are booking. Check it out. Spazar on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. Also, we are going to have a video coming out, and it's going to be kind of a high production value video for the song Helicopters. And we're super stoked about that. We got a cinematographer coming up from the South, and he's going to be working with us for a couple of weeks on that. So with that,
Yeah, that's excellent. Be sure to subscribe.
yeah, subscribe.
If there's a way to do that.
there is. You can hit the buttons everywhere, and
Hit all the buttons.
just hit all the buttons.
Yeah.
And be sure to check us out, newvinerecords.com, also on Instagram and everything. We'll be putting this out on all channels. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
One last thing.
Yeah.
As we did at the end of the last episode, we've been doing this thing where we like to choose who we're gonna have on the next show, but we want to do it like now.
right here.
Yeah, we
we're
want
gonna
to do it at the
target
end
them.
of each show.
Yeah.
And we've been working so far. We've been wanting to do new Vine artists to start. So.
Yeah.
So John, you're this is your
All
thing,
right.
man. Who would you like to see on the show?
I gotta say, let's have Timothy.
Timothy from
Timothy. He's a new up and coming songwriter that's becoming a band.
Okay.
He's putting out an EP actually this next 2 weeks. And we just finished up the masters and the mixes on that. So Timothy used to be in a band out of Elmira. Now he's working at the Ithaca Wegmans, so he's commuting back and forth. And we've been producing this for the last 6 months. So Timothy.
That's a great choice.
Yeah.
He's kind of an enigma, and I want to know about him.
Yeah.
Boom.
He's a desert creature. He's quiet.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Sounds great.
All right, Fish. Emma,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good one.